Okay. Let's see. How about number 8? Yeah? 3. Well, let's do 3. Everybody, apethanete. Okay. Does anybody know what the lexical form of apethanete is? Apa. Yeah, this is a little tricky. It's apathnesco. Apathnesco. There's a iota subscript here as well. All right. They usually are, but you do see them sometimes in other places. Now, look at apathanete for just a second, and look at apathnesco here as well. What kind of a verb is it that has little prefixes that are prepositions? These are compound verbs. Compounds are things that are made up of parts, right? You compound things together. And where do we augment compound verbs? After the prefix, before the verb stem. Okay? So do you see that epsilon before, after the ap, before the thon? Okay? So that is an augment there, but it's not at the front. So that means that this is either an imperfect or an aorist, right? If you look at the te, which person and number is that? Second plural. And is that an active or a middle passive second plural? Active. So right now we've almost got everything parsed really just by knowing te. Okay? You should know your personal endings. All right. Now, if this is the lexical form, apathnesco, what is the present stem? Apathnesk. It goes all the way to the kappa. Apathnesk. And the imperfect would have that in it, except the epsilon of the augment of the imperfect would replace that omicron there. Apethneskan, for example. Okay? Does that have all the sigmas and kappas and everything? Nope. All I have is thon, don't I? So this must be what? The imperfect or the second aorist? It's the second aorist. Good. And if it's a second aorist active indicative, second person plural, then you did what? You died. That's right. You died. Okay. I just can't even conceive of a situation where you would say this to anyone. But maybe you would. I don't know. Yeah, well, there you go. That's right. Yes. You died to self. That's right. Dude, you died. Right. Okay, good. Now, let's just for fun. I know this is fun, right? Let's just jot down this form here. So, neskate. Okay? So, neskate. That is the same form as apathanete, except it's imperfect instead of second aorist. So how would you translate that? That's right. You were dying. Sorry for that. That is an eta after the theta. I'm sorry, a nu after the theta. Just poorly written. Okay? So apethneskate. So you see how the present stem is present in this, except that the augment has to go before that theta. Okay, good. Now, I was going to suggest we do 8. Let's just take a quick look there. I have heuron. I don't have an augment here, do I? So there's at least not one visible. I do have a nu at the end, which could be a personal ending. If it is, does that explain the omicron here before it? Yes. because connecting vowels can go before personal endings, and that would be the right connecting vowel before a new, wouldn't it? So whatever I have, this looks like it's the stem of it, Heuron. But look at the new all by itself after the connecting vowel. Is that a primary or a secondary kind of personal ending? That's a secondary, which means even though I don't have the augment, knowing my personal endings can help me. This must be an imperfect or a second aorist, right? Is this an active or a middle passive kind of secondary ending? It's active. Good. And then the new by itself could be first singular, or third plural. Got ahead of myself there. Was already thinking about plurals. Now, what might my lexical form be for Heuron? Is there any verb we've learned that has anything resembling these letters? Yes, heurisco. So, heurisco. What's my present stem for heurisco? Heurisk. Heurisk. Do I have the present stem here? No, so this cannot be the imperfect, can it? It's got to be the second aorist. So how am I going to translate this? I or they found. That's it. All right.
I thought that if it started with an eta, like the vowel lengthened. Why isn't the vowel lengthened?
Yeah. What we find is that sometimes when you have a diphthong at the beginning, you could have lack of augmenting, or the first vowel of the diphthong might augment. So in this case, it didn't. So if you go back to page 186 of Mounce, the lack of augmenting, this is 21.10. Okay, this was in his imperfect chapter, but it applies to the aorist as well. Okay, so you see this is section C, the C section. If a verb begins with a diphthong, either the first letter will augment or the diphthong is not changed. And he gives you heurisco as an example. Okay? All right. Questions on the warm-up exercises? Ada. Okay, so let me make that a little bit bigger. Let's read this together, everybody. In unison. Heuris gar harin parato theo. All right. How did you translate this? And we'll try to help you along wherever you need help. For you found blank before or in the presence of God. What is harin? This is grace. What is the lexical form? That's right, charis. And what kind of declension pattern does charis follow? First, second, or third declension? It is a third declension verb, or noun, excuse me. And what is its stem? What does it end with? It's really harit. You guys remember that? Harit. When I start adding my case endings, what's going to happen here? The tau before the sigma is going to fall out. Right. Very, very, very good. All right. So what I have here is, you remember I have for my case endings alpha or nu for the accusative singular. Okay, so this one's using the nu for the accusative singular. So you have found accusative direct object grace. Parato theo. All right. Other questions? You see, I already have pre-highlighted elthen. What is the lexical form for that verb? What's that? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah. Erkamai. Yeah, this is Erkamai. This is one of those ones where you must memorize this principal part because it's completely different root from the root that Erkamai uses. So lexical form is Erkamai. Present stem must therefore be Erk. This does not have an Erk at all, so it cannot be the imperfect, can it? It's got to be the second aorist. What's the root that this comes from? It comes from Eluth. Okay, that's the true root. Eluth. And the aorist stem is obtained by dropping the vowel here, and then it's augmented by lengthening the epsilon. Okay. So the aorist stem is elth, okay, and it becomes aelth in the second aorist. What's the epsilon here? Connecting vowel, and nu is, that's the movable nu. So is that a personal ending? Absolutely not. So the subject is third singular, right? So what does this mean? What's the simple past tense of Erkamai? Went, exactly. So he went or she went, pros ton Yesun, to Jesus. Yep. So he, she, or it went to Jesus. Now beta is almost the same thing except a different person number, and it has the prefix pros, which is a compound verb. So what does it mean when you add pros to Erkamai and Elthan? It's to go where? To go to. Yep. So which person and number is pros Elthan? First singular or third plural? Now look at the rest of your form. Is this the subject? And is it singular or plural? Plural, right? Hoi mate tai. And that means that out of my choices of what's possible, which one's the only one that it really could be? It could only be the third plural. So the disciples proselthund. The disciples what? Went to him or went up to him. But it's the idea of motion towards, approaching someone. Or came to him, yes. All right. Anybody have another question about the warm-up exercises? Gamma. All right. So everybody, Ebelin altus eistain gain. Say that. Okay. So, what is Ebelin? To throw. Yeah. And the epsilon tells me it's what time frame? Past. 1 lambda in the ball is second aorist. So how am I going to translate this? He threw or she threw. Altus, them. This is the accusative masculine plural form of altas. So she, he threw them. Eistain gain. Yeah, to the earth, into the earth, or to the ground. And you could also translate this as cast. All right. Now, if I had Ebalen like this, how would I translate that? Yes, he, she was throwing them into the ground. That's imperfect. That's aorist. All right. Other questions? All right. Okay, so on the translation work, we want to do number 3. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Let's read this together, everybody. Ready? Kai phone egenata ek ton uranon su ha huias mu ha agapetas. All righty. Make that a little bit bigger here. Why don't you tell us how you translated this and let us help you out?
And the voice became from the heavens, or came from the heavens, I guess, right?
Okay.
And so I didn't know what to do with A. So I'm like, okay, so I put if you, my son, whom I love. I'm familiar with the actual verse, but
That's right. But you have to read what's here, don't you?
yeah.
That's always the challenge if we're reading text we already know. First question, is this the word if? No. That's right. That's right. The word if is A, but just with the smooth breathing. Okay? A with the circumflex and the smooth breathing is a verb form. What is it? That's right. It's the second singular, present active indicative of a me. So it's you are. So you are hahuiasmu. You are my son. Ha agapetas. What's that mean? Beloved, right. So this is a genitive mu, right? So literally, you are the son of me, the beloved. The son of me, the beloved, is my beloved son. Right, good. Now, one other thing is, if we go back to agenata for a moment, is that the imperfect or the second aorist of genomai? It's second aorist because it's a different stem. Yeah, genomai, again, gen. Okay, so that is different. So yeah, this is a second aorist. And when we have things like voices and words genomai, then a lot of times we can translate them into English as came. Okay, that is came about or came to be, or simply came. So here it was a voice agenatad, a voice came from heaven. It's probably better than became or was. Okay? So came. All right, good. Other questions? Okay, so number 6, there's a question?
Yeah, so my question specifically is about the end, where it has the quotation, so hati pantes situsin se, which is should that be translated as a direct statement or an indirect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's interesting, right? Hati could be translated as that, especially after a verb of speaking, and that's what we have here. So if it's indirect speech, they said that such and such is the case. But here, it looks like it's switched to an IU kind of thing, right? And that looks like direct speech. And if something's direct speech, then you're not going to translate the word hati as that. You're just going to understand that this is opening up direct discourse. So you translate it as something like, they said to him, quote, everyone is seeking you. Mm-hmm.
Would it be wrong to include that in translation?
Here's the thing, okay? So when you have the narrator or the author telling the story, who is the I? If the author is using the author's words. The author is the I. Okay? Who is the you? The reader. Okay? So if the author is telling me, the reader, that all are seeking you, then who's the you? The reader. Okay, but that's not who the you is here, which is why we want to use quotation marks and treat this as direct speech rather than indirect speech. Okay? So, let me give you another example, just sort of drive this closer to home. I could look at you guys and say, hey, this morning my wife told me that she loves you. Or my wife told me that I love you. My wife told me that I love you. What did my wife tell me?
That you love us.
Exactly. My wife told me that I love you guys. Okay, but that's not what she said to me this morning. She said, quote, I love you. Right? So determining whether something's direct speech or not is important, isn't it? Because it is saying something different. Okay. Are there any other questions about verse 6 that anybody wants to think about, look at?
Can we look at the back half of it?
So starting with kai heron. Yeah, okay. So what is this verb? What's the lexical form of heron? We've seen this in our parsing. Yeah, heurisco, right? And what does heurisco mean? To find. I clearly have a different stem, heur versus heurisk here. So could this be the imperfect if I wanted it to be? No, different stem. This is second aorist. Okay, so who did the finding? That new ending tells me it's what? Yeah, first singular or third plural. Okay. Now if we look at the earlier parts here, we might get some clues, but this is third singular, and third singular. So there isn't any context here to tell us. So either I sought or they sought him, and legusin. There I have a third person plural form, right? And that's going to make me want to take the third plural as more likely the parsing here. And they found him, and I'm translating this as said, but when you look at the parsing, what is that? Yeah, that's present active indicative, isn't it? And it's third plural. Now, this is what many people refer to as a historical present. It is present tense, but the context is clearly past because the narrator is telling us what they did and actually uses a past tense form here. They found him and said to him, quote, all are seeking you. Okay, so is that where your question was?
Yes, because he translated, and they found him and are saying to him.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That sounds weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't translate it that way. I'd go ahead and give it a past time translation. So yes, present forms in certain contexts can be past or historical. All right. Other questions? Okay, so number 8. Ute oida, ute epistamai. What's oida mean? To know. And which form of know is this? This first singular. So it's I know. Now I've got I understand following I know, I understand, and in between them are ute. These are correlative, and they're going to be translated as neither nor, okay? So I neither know nor understand, su ti leges. Now, what's ti? Yeah, it's an interrogative. Who, which, what? Okay? And which form of the interrogative word is this? It's neuter. Remember, our lexical forms are tis and t. Okay, tis is masculine and feminine. T is neuter. And here I have the T part. Okay. If you know that this is the lexical form and that's the neuter one, then T could actually be nominative, neuter singular, or neuters are identical in which two cases? Accusative. So it could be accusative or nominative, neuter and singular. Now, look at su leges. Those go together. Su is which pronoun? You. And what person and number is it? Yeah, it's second singular. Look at leges. Which person and number is that verb? It's second singular. So my subject su and my verb leges go together, right? You say or you are saying. So can what be the subject? No. Because if I said what gives, the subject being what is what person and number. Hey, what gives? What's eating you? It's third singular. So if T were the subject, my verb would have to be third singular. But the verb is actually second singular because I already have a subject. So the T must be not nominative, but accusative, right? You are saying what? Okay? But notice there's no question mark in Greek here, is there? That's actually a period. That's a statement. So this interrogative is being used in an indirect way. That is to say, it's an indirect interrogative. So I could say something like, what's for dinner? There I'm using what as a direct interrogative. I'm asking a question. But if I say something like, I wonder what's for dinner, am I asking a direct question? No. What's for dinner is an indirect question. I wonder what's for dinner. And this is what he seems to be saying here, using an indirect interrogative form of T. I neither know nor understand what you are saying. Okay? That's the idea here. And then Kai exelthen exo, and he went outside. Notice ex and exo are related to each other, aren't they? Ex erchomai, ex elthen, to go out. He went out. All right. So there you go. Any questions about this?